I'd like you to meet Cheryl and Jennifer. Both of them came to me at separate times with this desire to start up a dance team. And so they made dreams come true. They were such a gift to the whole church. So listen to Jennifer and Cheryl's story.
I remember talking with Kim at the wind up last summer, like the volunteer ice cream social, and just happened to mention that I teach dance as part of my day job and that it would be kind of a fun thing to try with Lakeview kids, and that I think was kind of what started one of the balls rolling at least, and then we chatted, and then I don't know.
Yeah, it's always been kind of a goal for me to lead a kids dance class, and then when my own kids came along and they were interested in some dance, I'm like, oh, this would be so awesome if I could do like a worship dance at church. So I've led some choirs before, and I thought that adding a dance element would be fun.
So I do teach dance as part of my work week life, and it was kind of really cool for me to share that passion for dance and what I do for a living a little bit, to share that with church and kind of bring those two things together and use those giftings like in the church setting was like really special for me, and I really enjoyed being able to do that and share that with Lakeview, and so it was really nice to have that opportunity.
And ditto, it's something that I was passionate about, and I loved to dance when I was younger, and so the fact that I can pass it on and serve Lakeview in this way, and then in turn the kids can kind of serve Lakeview in their performances and show love to our congregation that way. It's very exciting for me.
I'm Penny.
I'm Elliot.
We like to do events like
River cleanups around your neighborhood. Oh, videos, yeah.
my favorite is probably the river cleanup, because so many people came to support the community and clean up the garbage in the river. We started the green team because me and Elliot were noticing a lot of
Garbage in the wrong bins, like garbage and recycling and garbage. Yeah, we want you to put wherever the camera is.
We want you to clean up the garbage in the recycling.
Yeah, we just want you to support us. Yeah.
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 Hi, I'm Jacqueline Hellman, and I've been serving in the children's ministry probably 4 years, yes.
Well, I'm Steve Riston. I've been serving in children's ministry since about 1988.
The reason I got involved with children's ministry is at first my grandkids were of that age. And the more that I started to get involved, and as they grew up and some of them were moving on to different age groups, I realized that just getting to know all the kids in the church was just wonderful. It was great to connect with them.
My first time was actually so I wasn't going to the adult service. But since then, I've come to appreciate the fact that it's working with the kids, get to see the adaptability, the unpredictability.
What I love about working with the kids is, well, first of all, what's not to love? They just energize me. Just seeing their innocence and just getting to know that they are there to just be part of the community, and I just love interacting with them, and they just make my day.
One of the things I like is getting to know the kids a little bit, which is a bit of a challenge if you're every other week, but you do get to know them through the course of the year, and they get to be comfortable enough to start to reveal who they are. When I think about it, the participation is not just with a particular generation, it's actually with all generations. And one of the places you start is with our youngest generation. if we don't start with our youngest generation, how do you manage to engage with your own generation, or the generation where you might listen to the generation older than you or more experienced than you? You have to be involved with every generation and lead where you can and be led where you can.
Man, there's so many biblical stories about Jesus talking about children and coming as a child. And every time I see the kids, I think of, I wish we all could be like kids, come with our innocence, but our joy, our acceptance, and so on. And I think those generations, working with them, as Steve said, is really important, because that's where you're going to build your foundation, and the kids start to feel like they're part of a community, and they start to connect, and they recognize people and friends at the church. And even the 2-year-olds are starting to want to come, and they know that they recognize some of the same kids. So I think it's really important for them to see themselves as part of this community, even at a young age.
My name is Shirley Batira, and I came here like a year ago. So I'm new to Canada, and when I first came to Canada, I was going to Elim Church, and then because of the flooding, they had damages and they shut down. So that's how I started coming here. I thought that they are doing service here, but it was a different timing. So I ended up coming to Lakeview Church. And so yeah, when I first came, I felt sort of connection. I met people, and people were so welcoming and open-hearted. So I liked it. And then the second time I came, I met you. I met Kim, Pastor Kim. And that's how I realized that, yeah, it's beautiful. It feels like home here. And then I started volunteering here. So it's just about the community, feeling like home here. So yeah, that's how I ended up coming to Lakeview Church. What made me decide to volunteering with preschoolers is I love kids. And it's always been there in my mind that I want to volunteer in a church. I was in Australia and I was volunteering there as well. So yeah, it's part of me that's connected with children. I like children and the energy that they should. I know they could be a little cranky sometime, but yeah, I like how they're all over, and they make you feel loved so much. So yeah, that's how I like it. The favorite part is absolutely the children and the dancing, of course. We have this, we go to the second room and then we all sing and dance together. So that's one of my favorite part. But yeah, I feel so much loved. I feel so much supported. And through you guys, of course, I feel like home here, sort of belonging, because as I've said, I'm new here. It's been a year only. So, of course, you have been so helpful, guys.
My name's Nathaniel Siebert, and I've been coming here since 2011, so 12 years. My earliest memory, since you ask, is it was of Sunday school at Power Hour, and we just moved, not to Canada, but to Saskatchewan from Ontario, and I made friends with Samuel Gingrich. Some of you might know him. Yeah, I think he flat out asked me, do you want to be friends? I said yes.
My name is Samuel Andrew Gingrich, and I've been going to Lakeview for as long as I can remember. Yeah, just my time at youth has been really good. I think it's kind of helped me become who I am today in whatever way, whatever is that's good or bad. I think it's good. I feel like I'm kind of biased though. So I think my time at youth, yeah, it's just been really awesome. So after graduation this year, I'm taking a gap year, just work on myself a bit more. And then I've been thinking about going to Briarcrest out in Moose Jaw, but I'm not sure right now. I love Lakeview Church because it has been part of me for my entire life. It's almost like a home away from home kind of thing. I feel like I know the people and I know the community, and for the most part they trust me. There's some people who don't know who I am, so I look kind of goofy, but I have a lot of fond memories here. It's been a long time, so it's a really warm place.
Hey everyone, these were some of our grads from this year. We're really excited just that we get to celebrate and just honor our graduates on just such a great achievement. For me, this is my first grad class that I've ever gotten to celebrate and be excited for. And I'm just excited to see how God is going to shape and use these youth as they go from this space of Lakeview youth into Lakeview young adults and maybe out of Lakeview entirely. It's such a gift that we get to walk with people from being in the nursery on a Sunday morning all the way up till grade 12. And this is just one part of their journey. It's a very small part, but it's so instrumental in how they see church and how they function with the church. And we're just so excited that we get to honor them and celebrate them today. If you know of any youth that are not featured in these videos, that are graduating, make sure you celebrate them, give them a big high five, a big thumbs up, and make sure that they know that they're a part of us and we support them and encourage them in their journey beyond this space of Lakeview youth. And yeah, that we're just really excited for them.
My name is Nathan. I'm the board chair at Lakeview Church. Beside me is...
I am Justin Stade, and I was the chair of the search committee for our most recent hire of our senior pastor, Paul. Heading into the summer of 2021, we started the transition, we started all of the searches, and we had to go through a couple of rounds of looking for things, and we had a phenomenal team that was part of that search committee. Nathan was on it, as well as a number of people from all areas of the congregation and the people that really make up Lakeview, and really represented everyone well as we went through the discussions with both people that might be interested or people that might know people that were interested. We did a lot of search. We had a lot of good congregational engagement. I know I heard a lot about times of people praying for us and really supporting us through all of that. And we definitely put in a lot of time. There's a number of people on that search committee that put in hours and hours making sure that they were supporting and providing everything they could to be able to make sure that we heard what God was looking for and who God was leading towards us. And I think looking back as we came through that process and to get to where we got to, and the sense of peace that was on all of us as we said, like, no, Paul is that person, and just knowing that was with confidence that was what God wanted for Lakeview has really set us up for this last 10 months. And so now I think it's so fitting to celebrate Paul being part of this community and joining in with us, as well as just the stability of this amazing staff team we've got, and the great leadership that we've got from the board. The board has been doing a phenomenal job through all of this, helping the staff and helping provide the leadership that they're supposed to provide. I think it's been awesome, and I think the board deserves a lot of kudos as well.
And to go from there, off of that, like just how the staff have really picked up the pieces from, setting a vision out of the pandemic. We've kind of left it up to the staff and Paul encouraged us to find their new rhythms, new pace of how we do church at Lakeview. I mean, there's lots of moving pieces, moving positions at Lakeview. I mean, with different hires that we had with Kim in the children's area over the pandemic. We've had David, a new worship pastor. We've had a ton of people step up and just fill the roles at Lakeview where we needed to. We never felt that we were at all lost. We felt that God has always had a control and always had his hand in guiding us. We never felt panicked. This is the weirdest time where there's a lot of chaos and a lot of transition happening, but we never felt that. We felt God was in the process all the way from Justin leading the search committee, even for him to be able to do that. for Paul, hearing the nudge from the Holy Spirit to guide us to even just entertain the conversation. I know he had a lot of things going for him at other places and other churches, but he stepped in and heard God's calling and stepped in at Lakeview. Over the last year, there's been multiple hires that have just continued to fulfill our team in a way that has been able to help our community, help pastor our community, and help walk alongside the people attending Lakeview. The new hires from Lori, who's in charge of rentals and the facility, to Ian, to
Dallin, the new youth pastor, as well as Matt, who's filming us right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it, like, again, as we head into what hopefully feels like a little bit more stability, I think a lot goes into the celebration of just even being able to us being carried through the period of instability, through the pandemic, through the transition. The staff team that is still here from that point and has done a lot and really had put a lot of effort in. So I think combining with the new folks that have been hired on, I think it's just it's a feeling of stability and a feeling of settling into Lakeview as this new chapter opens and seeing where it goes.
We want to thank Justin and the search committee for all that he's done, and all of the people that helped out along the way. It's been a ton of work. It's a long process, and they were amazing to work with. So we want to thank him and all he did.
I appreciate it on behalf of everybody that was involved on the search committee. Nathan, I think the reality is we were happy to do it, and we were happy to work with the board, and I think we're just excited to celebrate.
Amen.
Hey Lakeview, my name is David. I'm the worship pastor here at the church, and it's my awesome privilege to share about the good things that have been happening in our worship ministry. One of the things I'm most excited about from this last year are the volunteers who have joined our worship ministry. We have an amazing team, from the platform, singers, musicians, to the sound booth, to the Crow's Nest, which is our station up top, from which we run our lighting and visual cues. We have an amazing team of volunteers, people who have been a part of Lakeview for literal decades, and then those who have only been in Canada for less than a year. So we have stalwarts, we have Canadians, we have Nigerians, we have Brazilians. We have a great team, old and young. And it's been a privilege and a pleasure to worship alongside our crew. Another highlight has been our community worship nights. So we've been hosting at Lakeview a worship initiative called Red Room Worship, and we've seen over a dozen churches represented. In the band alone, there are over 9 churches represented just in the worship team. There's so much to celebrate. Events and people, but most importantly, Jesus and what he's done. He's the reason why we sing. He's the reason we worship. He's the reason we gather. So I'm grateful and I'm rejoicing this Sunday.
I'm Kimberly Evans, and I have attended Lakeview for almost 20 years.
You're really old.
I was very, very young when I first started.
My name is Dana Crucial, and I've attended Lakeview for around 7 or 8 years.
My name is Stephanie Price, and my family's been coming for about 1.5 years. So.
I think that Lakeview has been such an important part of my life for such a long time, and having the pandemic kind of happen over the last few years, it really, even though I already felt very connected, it really made me feel like I just didn't quite know a lot of the people that attended anymore. And so being at this church or at this retreat just really felt like it was bringing all of our church women together in a way of like real genuine introductions with each other, besides just the passing by on a Sunday morning or not really having a reason to maybe approach somebody because you don't really know them. We were all there for the same reasons, and it just felt really comfortable.
Yeah, we are a 1-car family, and so to get to a retreat sometimes takes a little bit. So there was this carpool emails that went around for a while, and we ended up in a carpool, and Kim and I know each other from way back, but we don't ever see each other or connect. And so we ended up in the back of this truck and visited the whole time on the way out. And it was just a really fun connection. And then it's funny to just kind of touch base at Easter or around when we see each other and just kind of reminisce on our time.
Since I'm newer to the community here, it was just so nice to be able to put faces to names that I've seen, and yeah, even just I think she was a good intro because she tagged along, and the number of women that she met, or just women that blessed me by taking her for half an hour so I could be hands-free, was really nice. And now seeing those same people in the halls, it's a nice treat to be able to say hi and not have no idea who it is.
And one more thing, I just love Shekinah so much. Even just the location of being out of the city, in nature, with those rolling hills. There's something really wonderful about just being away for a weekend.
Yeah, I agree. The location was great. Jessica Morgan and I had a long walk and a long talk and just felt like it was just quiet. There was absolutely nothing. And it felt like we were far, far away from day-to-day life, which for me, that's what I needed that weekend.
Yeah, I'd agree. I second and third those things.
So home church is one of the significant things that we do here at Lakeview. It rounds out our Sunday morning experience by making sure that we find our way into relationships and into each other's lives. This has been a really important year for our home churches, as many of our groups have been kind of rediscovering their patterns and routines of community that were disrupted by the pandemic. And while groups have been kind of finding their way back to one another, we've also had several new groups get started in this past season. We have groups that meet here on site with young children. We have groups that have formed throughout the past few months. And one of the things that we started to notice in this past year was there was a group in our church, young professionals, who were hungry and looking for a place to connect and belong. And so I approached some of my friends, Micah and Judith, and asked them if they would be willing to help initiate and pioneer a new home church that was geared towards these young professionals. And well, you know what? I'd rather have them tell the story.
My name is Judith.
I'm Micah.
And I'm Dawn.
Yeah, so Curtis contacted us about starting up a home church for, young professionals, early career folks. And I think I'd been wanting to start a home church of our own for a while. But before the pandemic, we were part of another home church, and it was a great experience. We just loved it.
It was a great time to get to know some new folks in the church that we hadn't connected with before.
Yeah, it was really great. So that was just an amazing experience. And through the pandemic, when we couldn't meet in person, we still kept in touch, and spaces at the church were made available for us so that we could gather occasionally as time went on. But it was a group of people who were a lot of younger families, or families with young kids, I guess, which was not where we're at in life, and it made scheduling very difficult once we actually started meeting more consistently. And that's kind of when Kurt approached us about starting our own home church again, and we decided that seemed like an opportunity we could leap into.
Yeah, I was very excited to connect more with people that are in the same time of life as we are, and so it was exciting to hear that there was a bit of a need for a group to fulfill that those connections and that time of life, I guess. And it was exciting. I was very excited to connect with people like that.
Yeah, so Curtis connected us with a bunch of people, including Dawn here, who you and Judith had already connected before, right?
Yeah. We sat at the same table at the Lakeview Women sessions in the fall.
Yeah. So it was awesome to know that there was going to be a friendly face at this new home church, and I was really excited to hear about this home church that was forming when Curtis kind of told me a little bit about it. I agree that it's really nice to know that there's a place where you can, you're all different, you're all in different spheres of life, but you do have that common experience of kind of the stage of life we're at, and there's a lot of, it was nice to have that shared experience.
So we started meeting back in January, and there was a little bit of time where we, did some introductory stuff. We got to know each other a little bit, and there was so much laughter just off the start. There was so much laughter off the start, and it really fueled the discussion once we got into the sermons and the home church questions. It really helped us to be able to open up to one another, which was just a beautiful thing, to be able to connect on a deeper level about our faith and about the sermons and discuss life.
Yeah, and I love that since the beginning, laughter and joy has been such a huge part of the group. And I remember there was a really important week that we had that comes to mind for me. So we had laughed lots, we had connected lots, and then I think one of the questions was around, what does safety look like, or what does it feel like for you or in a group? And I remember we just had such a rich, beautiful conversation, and it was really clear to me that all that connecting, all the joy, all the laughter had brought us to a place where you could have this really, really beautiful conversation about how to make this a space that felt really, really good for everyone. And it was in that week, in that moment, where I was like, oh, I think there's something special that's going on. It was really cool to see.
But yeah, no, it's just been so great to be able to, build new friendships. And looking back at where we started and where we've come to, it's just, it's exciting. And more than anything, I think we're excited to see how this continues. And we're just so thankful that Lakeview provides space and tries so hard to facilitate these kinds of safe spaces where people can have these conversations, make connections, build friendships, and just, build a richer, deeper faith life. It's just really nice to be able to be a part of that and kind of, facilitate our own little part of that journey here at Lakeview.
Our own little bubble.
Well, what an amazing look back at some of the stories you heard as people have shared their experiences and invited you into the experiences. And of course, this video can't do justice to all the amazing things that God has been doing in our midst and his faithfulness around us. And there's that was quite a bit of video, and it's hard to name all the things that are happening in our community. Things like our seniors program that happened twice a month, and it was happening every month, and they were having so much fun. I was trying to figure out how I can join. They were playing so many games and exciting things. It was a really happening group. Our local and global partners, they're doing important work in our city and across the world. Our other grads, we heard from 2 grads. We have other youth grads that are graduating this year, and we're excited for them, what God has in store for them. Our young adults this year that are starting to meet here on location, and it's been a growing community as well. Our men's breakfast that happens every Tuesday, Tabs Ministry where they're doing Bible studies, Alpha that happened in the fall. There's just so many things that have been happening in our community, and we're so thankful for that. And it's hard to name them all. But one of the things that I did want to say is that for me, this was my first year as your pastor, and it's been 11 months, and we've kind of been going through this journey. And for me, it's been an honor and privilege to journey with you, to learn with you, to discover what God is doing in our midst and how he is renewing all things around us and the opportunity we have to join him. So as we celebrate today, I'm just briefly want to share with you a short story that I shared as my first kind of message here at Lakeview. When I first started on our Leader Day, I shared one of my favorite Bible stories, and I thought it'd be fitting to kind of conclude with it as I started with it in the beginning of the year, so as we're celebrating, to kind of conclude with it as well. It's found in Luke 24, and it's a story where there's a couple of characters. There's 2 disciples that are on the road to Emmaus who are discussing the events surrounding what happened to Jesus. Jesus has just been crucified, and they're confused, and they're walking, and they're not sure what's going on. And out of nowhere, Jesus joins them on the journey. So we read, 2 of them were walking to the village of Emmaus, about 7 miles out of Jerusalem. They were deep in conversation, going over all the things that have happened. In the middle of their talk and questions, Jesus came up and walked along with them, but they were not able to recognize him. We have 2 people who are trying to make sense of what they have experienced. There's lots of stuff that's happened in their community, in their culture, and it's a big news event. And they're trying to make sense of life because things didn't go as they thought it would. And seemingly out of nowhere, Jesus joins them and joins them in the conversations. And he asks them, what are you talking about? What's happening? What are you guys discussing? And at first, they're actually kind of incredulous with him. They're like, don't you know? Like, everybody knows what happened. Everybody's heard this news. How do you not know? Have you not heard about this death of Jesus that everybody's in the uproar or dismay about? Some are celebrating, some are sad, some are confused. How do you not know? This is big news. And I find it fascinating that Jesus simply enters their story, enters their pain, their curiosity, their searching, and begins to explain the Bible to them. They literally get top-notch Bible study from Jesus himself, right there on the road. And we learn that their hearts are warmed and they're drawn to him, and they want to know more. Their journey on the way includes this conversation about Jesus, thinking about Jesus, grieving about Jesus. And all along in this conversation, their hearts are beginning to warm. They're getting some hints that something more is going on here. They are so moved that by what Jesus is actually saying to them, even though they don't recognize him, that they invite him to their house for a meal to continue this conversation. It's such a big, warming conversation. Friends, the Emmaus Road story is not only one of my favorite stories in the Bible, it is inescapably an account of God speaking through the actualities of life in community. It begins with leisurely conversation on a dusty road about current events, frustrations about current events, confusion about current events, and culminates with an ordinary meal in a suburban home. Being a follower of Jesus is like this, isn't it? It's becoming immersed in the story of God on the way, through hospitality. This year, we look back at some of the videos and the images and stories of our community. We look back at being immersed in the story of God. We look back at God's faithfulness and presence. Maybe I should say, we'll look back, especially when we didn't recognize that Jesus was actually journeying with us in the hard stuff. But we are reminded of today as we celebrate is that Jesus has been with us all along. When we participate together, when we open our homes in the act of hospitality, when we gather together, Jesus is there, whether we notice him or not. I find it so fascinating that the disciples did not recognize him at all until they invite him to break bread with them. It is then that when they finally recognize this, is as if the scales of their eyes are lifted, and this act of hospitality reveals who the stranger is, or who has been all along, Jesus himself. Now, typically on our first Sunday of the month, we together as a community would have communion together. We'd break bread together. We would invite each other into this act of hospitality and the act of means of grace. Today, in our act of hospitality, I want to invite all of you to a barbecue after the service, to eat together, to laugh, to remember, to look back at our stories and wonder, was Jesus all along with me in that time that I just didn't realize it? When I was frustrated, when I was confused, when I wasn't sure? What was he teaching me in that moment? We will continue our regular communion next Sunday, but today I want to invite you into the hospitality of eating together, enjoying the food. We have gluten-free sausages, regular sausages, buns, all that good stuff. It'll all be available, and there's some fun stuff to do as well. We will celebrate, because the Emmaus story is the account of God speaking through actualities of community, being hospitable together. A community that invites hospitality as a rhythm of life. The act of hospitality, the act of welcoming others, the act of being together helps us see Jesus, who is with us, who's for us, who reminds us that we do not need to be afraid, that all are welcome. And that is something certainly worth celebrating. Would you pray with me? God, we thank you for the good news. We thank you that you are here. We thank you that you love each person. We thank you for all the little people that are walking around and drawing, and I know that you are right there with them. I also thank you for being in our hearts and in our minds, and as we're grieving or as we're rejoicing, you are present in all of those tensions. Thank you, God. Thank you for making sense of life. We pray all these things in your name. Amen. Amen.